Hello everybody, welcome to IndyCar on Monday the 4th of August. Well, I think you don't need me to tell you what the big news item is today. The big news item is, of course, Lord Ashcroft's incendiary poll, which says that 52% of Scots now favour independence against 48 against. When the poll was taken, and the don't knows and people who weren't going to vote were taken out of the equation, we ended up with 52% for independence. So this is a landmark occasion, because this is the first non-SNP commissioned poll and the first non-Scottish poll to show a clear majority for Scottish independence for the first time. 52% to 48 is an excellent starting point. Obviously it's not ideal, we want more than that if possible, but the point is that without knowing actually at the moment what Lord Ashcroft's poll was, how it was done and how many people of what demographics took part, I imagine this would have been people over the age of 18 and not European Union citizens who were asked their opinions. Now 52% of those said that they now favour independence before 2021. That's fine, no problem with that. If we imagine for a moment what would happen if we add in the 16 and 17 year olds and the European Union citizens into that figure, you could imagine that figure going up a substantial amount. Nicola said, well, she said repeatedly that the people of Scotland will tell her when it's time to basically use their sovereignty to choose their own future, and I think that moment has now arrived, and I think it's proved to all concerned that that moment has arrived, because there is no other way for the people of Scotland to talk to the First Minister and to tell her that there is a majority in favour of independence now, other than for a poll to be conducted, or polls. In fact, I'm sure more polls are now going to be conducted to confirm this finding. But it's good news all round. It's an excellent day to be a Scot, and it's an excellent day, and it shows hope for the future. For the first time in a long time, where the future has seemed hopeless and full of uncertainty and potential chaos and troubles ahead because of Brexit, we can now see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, it's also important, I think, at this stage to remember that that Chris McElhinney and Angus MacNeil of the SNP have been proposing that the SNP both debate and pass a motion which would create the opportunity to use the next general election as not just a mandate for another referendum, but actually to decide to leave the UK. Now, this has been kicking around for a while, this idea of using a first past the post system, which is used in general elections, to provide a majority in favour of independence. Many years ago, Margaret Thatcher said that all Scotland needed to do was send a majority of SNP MPs to Westminster in order to secure their independence. And that is exactly what Angus MacNeil and Chris McElhinney are proposing. The idea is that considering that there's most likely going to be a general election in the next 2-3 months, maybe even sooner than that, depends on how things go when Boris Johnson comes back from the recess, but it's more than likely that there will be a general election. And if we use that general election as the deciding mechanism for independence, then nobody needs a Section 30 order of any kind, and it respects fully the claim of right. Now, the claim of right is a document, a piece of legislation passed in London at Westminster, which agrees that the people of Scotland have the sovereign right at any time, at a time of their choosing, to decide on the form of government which best suits their needs. And the form of government at the moment is not suiting our needs. And this would be the ideal time for Chris McElhinney and Angus MacNeil's proposal to be adopted by the Scottish National Party at their conference, and for it to be enacted at the next general election, removing at a stroke this whole nonsensical situation of being denied the so-called Section 30 orders. So it's good news all round. At the moment we remain to be not convinced, but remain to see whether the SNP reacts to this in the appropriate way and provides us with the opportunity to vote on independence using the election as the mechanism to achieve it. There is nothing illegal in this, and there is nothing in any rule books which prevent us from doing this. In fact, this fully respects the claim of right and is entirely a democratic method for achieving independence at a critical time in the history of this country, when the United Kingdom is threatening to destroy Scotland's economy and to wreck people's lives in Scotland needlessly because of a small minority of people in England who wish to leave the European Union. Now, in other news today, I heard a report today from my good friend Ire Dobson that Skyrora, the Edinburgh-based Scottish rocket company, which is bidding to be the first Scottish company to produce a satellite launcher in this country, has for the first time fired or tested their new 3D printed rocket engine at a base in Cornwall. As far as I understand it, this is the first time a 3D printed rocket engine has ever been tested. And 3D printing gives the company the opportunity to design all kinds of intricate features into the engine nozzle which allow the fuel which flows into the engine to flow through between the walls of the nozzle to cool the engine down and to preheat the fuel before it enters the combustion chamber. All these things used to be done by pipes welded onto the outside of the engine bell. Now it can be done by creating arteries and channels within the engine which would be impossible using any other technique. So another world first actually for a Scottish company in first of all 3D printing an engine. In other words, creating an engine from raw metal and building it up layer upon layer using a computer controlled machine to generate the engine from scratch. Basically building an engine from the bottom up without having to start with a big chunk of metal and machine it, which was the old-fashioned traditional method. So good news all round. In fact, today it's a terrific day for Scotland. We're about now getting ready to vote on our independence. We now know that we can win it if we keep building on this poll result and if we keep encouraging people to talk to their neighbours and to convince others that now is the time to leave the UK before Brexit hits and before it destroys everything that we have spent the last 40 years building up. So it is a critical time, as I say, in our history, and I hope to goodness that that this motion that's going to go before the SNP at the party conference to make the next general election a plebiscite on independence will actually happen, because if they miss this opportunity there will never be a better one. This is an open goal. We are standing in front of it. We have the ball at our feet. We just simply have to kick it into the open goal. And at the moment, we don't know what the SNP is planning to do. They've been keeping their plans secret for obvious reasons, but I think in the next few weeks we will see things moving very, very rapidly now. I would hope to see some more polls before anything else happens, just to confirm this result of Lord Ashcroft's poll is not just a fluke, and that this is not another one of the Tories' sneaky ways of getting the SNP to declare an independence referendum or a vote of some kind too soon. It might well be that there is still some scenes to play out in the great Brexit play that is going on at the moment. It might well be that there are still some events that have to take place before we can have this vote. But it would be nice to know that at the SNP conference that this is debated and that the possibility of using a general election in this way is agreed and adopted as policy, because that is the next logical step. Anyway, that's it for me today, just the 2 items of news, but I think considering the gravity of the situation, we don't need much more detail just now. We need more polls to confirm this, but as I say, the only way that people of Scotland have to tell the First Minister that they're ready for independence is through polling. So I would anticipate there will be a flurry of other polls in other newspapers and in other media to try to figure out whether this Ashcroft poll is indeed accurate or if in fact it's an underestimate. Personally, I believe it's an underestimate, and we shall soon see. I will be presenting Scotland at 7 this evening on Broadcasting Scotland on live stream and on YouTube, so I look forward to seeing you tonight. There should be, we hope, there might be a guest this evening to interview. We're waiting to see if we can get this person online, and I'm hoping to be able to discuss both the political events of today, and also I hope a little bit about the nascent space industry, which appears to be showing the first green shoots at the moment with Skyrora's success. Anyway, I'll see you all tonight. I look forward to that. See you later. Bye bye.